generated by that particular object. So this is what we are going to do. Any geometry, it can be a line, volume, or a surface. We will try to discretize or decompose that particular geometry into small segments, and then those small segments can be treated as point charges, and then we can sum up the overall effect of all those point charges, and we can find out the total electric field generated by the entire object. So this is the method we will be applying, where we will try to find out electric field because of a geometry. Please remember, the geometry can be anything. It can be line, it can be a stair, it can be a simple bar or anything else. But the method will be same. We will try to decompose the entire geometry into small segments. We call it as small elements, or we call it as point charges, or you call it as an infinitesimal charge, or whatever you call. But we will talk about a small geometry, and then we will calculate electric field for each geometry, and finally we will integrate across the geometry, or we can say we will sum up the effect of the entire elements, and finally we will get the overall electric field due to that particular geometry. So that is what we are going to do today, and our agenda is to find out electrical distribution due to continuous charge distribution. So these are the possible geometries because of which we are about to find out electric charge, or we are about to find out electric field. So there are some derivations which are in very deep. I have shared a YouTube link where you can find out the entire derivation. But precisely in this particular session, I will be dealing with finite line of charge. So I say there is a line which is finite, which has a particular length, and it has a uniform charge. Then I say ring of charge. So I have a ring which is of uniform charge. Then I will move to the disk of charge. So I have a disk, a finite disk of charge. Then we talk about infinite sheet of charge. Infinite means it is having no particular limit. And then I can talk about infinite line of charge. And finally, I will end up with semicircle of charges. So these are 4 or 5 concepts which are very important when we evaluate electric field due to continuous charges across a particular geometry. So I have considered line, I have considered a ring, I have considered a dish, and I have considered an infinite sheet of charge. Infinite means it can be a rectangle, it can be a sphere, it can be a dish, but it hardly matters. Infinite means it doesn't have any limit. There is no point of the geometry. Similar is the case of infinite line of charges, where it will be infinite. It doesn't have a particular limit. So integration or summation can be done from minus infinity to positive infinity. That is what you will see in case of infinite line of charges. Then we will also see semicircle of charges. The semicircle is half of a circle, and we will see what will be the charge, or what will be the electric field due to uniform charge, which is across the semicircle of a particular radius. So that is all we are going to see in today's lecture and today's demonstration. So instead of talking about electric field of charge distribution, simply talking, we will do some calculations, and in standard books they are named as standard derivations, and those standard derivations are then applied to solve the concepts of electric field due to certain geometry. So there are 2 different examples which I can set. First example says I have a rod of length L which has a uniformly distributed total positive charge Q. We have to calculate the electric field at a distance P located at a distance D below the rod along an axis to the left end of the rod and perpendicular to the rod. This is one. I am taking one point, and that one point I am keeping at a 90 degree of the rod, and it is towards the left end of the rod. So this is one possible geometry where I can calculate electric field. And the another possible geometry is I have a rod of length L has a uniformly distributed total negative charge. So please remember, in the first case I have defined we have a positive charge. In the second case I am defining we have negative charge. We need to calculate the electric field at a point located at distance d below the rod. So I have a rod of length L which has a negative charge minus q. We are about to calculate electric field at a point P, which is distance d below the rod, and it is along the axis through the center of and perpendicular to the rod. So this is the second geometry. I will work one of the above examples and you should try the other by yourself. That is what I recommend. I will work on one geometry. The second geometry you can work. The geometry is same. Only the point is located towards the end in the first case. In the second case, the point is located towards the axis of the bisector of that particular rod. Our assumption is that the rod has negligible thickness. So please remember, we are talking about rod which have negligible amount of thickness. So very, very thin rod we are talking about. So with this understanding, we have two formulations, so two type of derivations which has to be derived. I will be deriving the second one. First one, I hope you will do it by the understanding of the second derivative. Let us see how it is. Fine. So I'm going to demonstrate how to calculate electric field at a point which is at a distance d from the rod, and it lies at the bisector of that particular. So the formulation of the geometry is explained in the diagram. You can see I have a rod whose length is L, minus q is the charge of the rod, and I have a point P at a distance t. Now we have to calculate electric field generated by the rod whose length is L and charge is minus q, and the amount of electric field which is felt at a point P. And I have shown you in the geometry, right? So you know from our fundamental electric field equation that E equals to K mod of Q upon R square. Mod comes into picture because we don't know that whether the charge is positive and negative. If in this case it is negative, we can use negative sign. If it is positive, then we can go ahead with the positive sign. So this is our fundamental starting equation. The electric field is denoted with respect to K. K is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Q is the charge and R is the distance from that particular charge. Now, legal version of starting this equation, when we talk about different geometries and discretization, del E is the small amount of electric field generated by a small amount of or small segment of the charge. So dq and del E are the small amount of, we call it as infinitesimal small amount of electric field generated by infinitesimal small amount of charge on that particular. This is very better because it tells the problem. It also helps you avoid common vector mistake. It is very important to show this equation in this form. The del E is a small amount of electric field. Del Q is a small section or charge over a small section of the rod. So I have just formulated some legal version of this problem. This was the standard electric field. This is the legal version which I will be using to find out the electric field at a point P because of this rod. So we should begin our electric field of charge distribution problem with this particular equation, as I have already said, because the equation tells you how to work the problem. Because del dq is a small segment, then we can integrate over the entire segment. So what is the idea behind solving such type of problem is, first step is pick a small dq of charge somewhere in the distribution. So that is what first we will do. We will try to pick up a dq, that is small amount of section where we have a small amount of charge in that particular geometry. Then we will draw in your diagram the del E or dE due to that dq, a small amount of electric field because of that small amount of charge that we will draw. Then we will draw the components of del E. So del E can have x component, y component, and z component. So we'll try to find out del E. For each component, check for simplification due to symmetry. Then we can integrate over the charge. So these are the steps. We will try to locate a small segment in the rod, which will be dq. Then we will try to find out or draw what will be dE, that is small amount of electric field due to dq. Then we will try to draw the components as we usually do, where we try to find out what are the possible x and y and z components. And then we can solve for the simplification of those components. And finally, we can integrate over the entire geometry, and then we can find out what will be the actual amount of electric field felt at that particular point due to the entire rod, which have charge minus q in this case. So I hope now the question is very clear, and the type of solution we are going to provide is also very clear. Let us try to solve it step by step, and let's see what will be the electric field at that point P. So again, we will start with our starting equation. As you can see, now the starting equation in this case is dE equals to K dQ upon R square. So the first step is to locate a small amount of dQ, which is over that particular line. Now my suggestion is, don't keep the dq either at the center or towards the end, because center and the end will have a different sort of geometry. Instead of that, you pick up somewhere at either away from the center or away from the end. So I am just showing you, demonstrating where I have picked up. So I am taking dq, a small segment at that particular point. Now let us draw dE due to that dq. So because of this small segment of charge, I will have some amount of electric field, and I'm looking from point P. Please have a look. This is the amount of dE. Now you will say the direction of dE is towards dq because the charge over the rod is negative, which we have already demonstrated in the example, that the charge over the rod is minus q. That's why direction is towards dq. So now let us draw the components. So before drawing the components, I must define the axis which I am going to use. So I will define the axis. I have x-axis over here. I have y-axis over here. So now our geometry is very clear. I have x-axis along the rod. I have y-axis which is perpendicular to the rod. A point P is at the point at the bisector of that rod, and we have DE pointing towards dq. dq is the small segment of the rod whose effect will be a small amount of electric field, that is. Right. Now we can draw the components. If you see carefully, there could be two possible components, that is x component and we have y component. So DE can have x component and y component as shown in the figure. So this is your x component of DE. This is y component. Okay. Now, do you see why symmetry tells me that Ex equals to 0? Can you just observe that Ex component will be 0 in this case? If you all can see that x component is going to be 0, I will show you how it is. So if Ex equals to 0, so you can calculate Ey. So first label an angle theta in the vector diagram. So let me label an angle theta. Now from the theta, we can write it as dEy equals to plus dE sine theta. Please remember, this is the angle theta, and I can write Ey component as plus dE sine theta. To find sine theta, we need the x coordinate of dq. If dq is at an arbitrary position along the x-axis, what is a good name for its coordinate? So that's right, we can call it as x. So we need the coordinate of this. We call it as x, as it is very clear from the diagram. So this is the x. X is the position from the origin, and keeping this as origin. So dq is at a distance x from the origin, and this is d is the distance of the point P from the origin in y, and it is in x. So we are done with the geometry. You can see this is the exact geometry of dq, dE, theta which they are making, and we are trying to evaluate the EY because we say EX component will be 0. And by the analogy, EX component will be 0 because if we draw here over here, then the pairing of PE, EX component will be 0 over here because direction will be different. But if you talk about the EY, then we will have always in vertical direction. Because of that, you can always say that EX component will be 0 and EY component will be having a factor over this particular electric field. So now let us try to analyze. It's very simple now. We are going to evaluate on the Y component. So this is the theta, as you can see. From the analogy, I can write R, which is the distance between P and BQ. That is, will be equivalent to x square plus d square. As you can see, to find sine theta, we can look at the green triangle as I have shown in the geometry. The sides have length x and d, and hypotenuse is r. We get it from Pythagoras theorem that r equals to root of x square plus d square. So we can say sine theta equals to d upon r. As you can see, the sine theta is equivalent to d upon r. That was the second part. Now we start to put all those concepts together. So we will start with our fundamental equation. Del EY is plus dE sine theta. So sine theta, you know, that will be equivalent to d upon r. And what is dE? dE is k dq upon r square, that we have already mentioned in the starting equation. If I sum up everything, then I will get del EY equals to kd dq upon x square plus d square to the power 3 by 2. So I hope this calculation is very clear. So del EY is the component, y component of del E, x component will be 0 because of symmetry. So del EY will be giving you value kd dq upon x square plus d square to the power 3 by 2. So I hope till here it's very clear. We are able to find out y component of del E, that is del EY, and x component will be 0. Now we need to find out the entire field because of this particular charge. So what we will do, we can integrate this particular value from minus L by 2 to L by 2 because L is the length of this particular wire. So simply we have got the component, y component, or we have got electric field due to dq. Now the last step will be to integrate it across the rod. So in this case, the rod is from minus L by 2 to L by 2. But before integrating, let us define some more parameters. So this is how we can do it. So simply go with this. Now we are integrating over the rod which lies along the x-axis. So there is a need of dx. Then only integration is possible. So let us try to introduce what will be the dx over here. Dx is the distance, or dx is the small segment of the distance in which PQ lies. So let us try to solve this again to find out dx. So dx is a tiny bit of charge on the uniform charge rod, as we have already discussed. If the charge is uniformly distributed, then the amount of charge per length of the rod will be charge upon length. So this is also known as linear charge density. So I denote this by lambda. So lambda equals to Q upon L. Q is the charge and L is the length. In this case, Q is minus Q and L is the length, and lambda is the linear charge density, or we simply call it as charge density of the rod. So let us introduce this concept of L. So this lambda is equivalent to Q upon L. Q is charge, L is the length of the rod, lambda is charge density. Please remember the symbol which we are using here is lambda, and this lambda is mostly used in physics for finding out the wavelength of the wave which is propagating in a direction, or simply wavelength of any particular frequency which is given. But here lambda denotes charge density, In this case, it is linear charge density. For some other case, I will denote lambda with surface charge density, even volume charge density. So if I denote lambda with lambda L, that indicates it is linear charge density which is distributed across the rod. So I have lambda equals to Q upon L. So charge on segment of a rod. So now we know charge on the rod is lambda. Charge on that small segment will be charge upon length into length of segment of the rod. So the delta x or dx is nothing but length of that segment of the rod, and so I can write it as this is dx, that is small amount of length in which we have dq. Right. Now dq will be equivalent to lambda dx as we have already done. So dq will be equivalent to lambda dx. Now I can easily keep it in the equation. So we have this Ey was equivalent to minus L by 2 to L by 2 kd dq upon this. This derivation we have done. So what we will do, we will try to integrate it with respect to minus L by 2 to L by 2 for finding out the entire amount of electric field generated by this particular rod. So I can keep dq, that is small amount of charge over segment dx, which will be equivalent to lambda dx. Now transposing the terms, and finally we will get this ky equals to kd q upon L integration from minus L by 2 to L by 2 dx upon x square plus b square q by 2. So we have done the physics part over here. The physics part is done. We have discretized the geometry. We have got various components. So that's all from the physics point of view. Now the only thing which is remaining over here is to find out the mathematical calculations of this equation. Mean to say we have to integrate it across the rod. So when I say integration, I hope everyone knows how to integrate it. So can you just tell me what would be the integration of this? So people, those who are listening, I hope there should be some people integration of this. So I hope integration will be tough, of course, because this is not simple integration. But still, if you want to find out the exact amount of electric field because of this particular rod, then you can do the integration, and the limits over here will be minus L by 2 to L by 2. So that is how you will find out the electric field due to a rod which have a charge minus Q. Please remember, this is for the case when the charge is minus Q. If it is plus Q, then instead of mode of Q, you can write plus Q over here, minus Q, plus Q over here, and then the things will be. So let me now quickly show you what we are saying. So just the math part is remaining. We expect you to remember derivatives and integrals of simple power and trigonometric functions as well as exponential. The rest you can look up. If you have an exams and all, then you can just mug up things and try to do it. It will take some time for doing it, but I hope you are capable enough to do the mathematics calculations of integration and definition. So that I'm not going to teach over here. I hope you know how to integrate things. So this is the electric field generated at a point P because of a bar, because of a line containing, because of a line which has a uniform charge distribution of minus. Now let us analyze it. If instead of having a rod which is a rod which have a length L, if I have an infinite rod, then what will change in this equation? Instead of having a simple rod which has a length L, if I change the concept that I have an infinite rod, then what will change over here? I want some comments.
Sir, please tell again. समझ में नहीं आया question.
Okay. So the thing is, right now we are talking about the rod which is finite and its length is L, right? If it is infinite, then what will change in this?
Limits of integration will
Yes,
change.
correct. That's all. So what we will do, if I have to find out that if what will be the electric field due to the rod, which is infinite in nature, then we can integrate it from minus infinity to infinity. So by this derivation, we have solved two concepts. First concept is what will be the electric field because of a finite rod of uniform charge minus q, and we have also solved the concept of electric field at a point P due to an infinite rod of charge minus q. So these concepts are very important. Mathematical operators you can solve, and you can also do the derivations by yourself. I hope I was crystal clear in explaining the various parts. Remaining things, you can refer to some standard book and try to find out what are the other possibilities in such type of solutions. So one more derivation I will like to do it. Instead of having the point at a perpendicular direction, if we have point located over here. So again, let us see what will change in this type of geometry. We have a rod of length L, which has a uniform charge per unit length lambda. That is what I have already said, what is lambda now. And a total positive charge Q. Please remember, in this case, I am talking about positive charge Q. So I have a rod whose length is L. Total charge is, or we say the charge over the rod, which is uniform, and whose uniform charge per unit length is lambda, is Q. We have to calculate field at a point P along the x-axis, along the axis of the rod at a distance d from one end. So I have formulated the problem, I formulated the situation. The situation says I have a rod whose length is L. I have a point from this end, and the distance between this point from this end is d. And I have to find out electric field because of this particular rod, which will be felt at a point P. So I hope the formulation of question is clear. Our assumptions. The assumption is that rod has negligible thickness. So please remember, I am not talking about a rod which is thicker. It is very, very thin and which has negligible amount of thickness. So I'm going to find out what will be electric field at this particular point. So again, the concept is same. What we have done in previous case, the same thing I will be applying over here, step by step, and I will try to demonstrate what will be the electric field at this point because of this rod. And we will also analyze what will change in terms of relationship when we were talking about the point which is at this location, at perpendicular location, and at this location. So let's start the derivation. Let's see what are the concepts behind this. So it's a good bet. We will decide we will need x and y axis. So let's put them in right now. So let us see what are the possible x and y axis over here. So what I am going to do, I am going to locate P at origin, and I have x and y axis like this. It is not mandatory to use those axes, but for my consideration, I am using this. I am pointing P at the origin. The coordinate of P is x equals to 0 and y equals to 0. Rest of the things, now you can formulate what will be the total length, what will be the distance of this bar from the origin. So I have set my axis, x and y. After the previous example, we realized we will need to calculate the linear charge density on the rod. So that is, we have already know linear charge density lambda equals to Q upon L. So Q equals to lambda L. That is all we have already done. Now there are some more notes in this particular equation, in this particular example. Both lambda Q are given. So I have already defined lambda and Q. So we can express our answer in terms of our choice of either one. So I can express in terms of lambda and Q. We are told Q is positive, as you can see. So we don't need the absolute value sign as in the previous example. These are the two things which is to be noted when doing such type of problem. The thing is, we are talking about positive charge. Since the charge is positive, the absolute sign is not needed. Absolute thing is not needed, of course. And lambda Q are already defined. So I will not define them during the derivation. So now let us see how we are going to solve it. This was all about the geometry, all about the various terms used. So again, we will start with our starting equation. Starting equation is dE equals to K dQ upon R square. So please remember this. This is very important. dE is small amount of electric field generated by a small segment of that rod, that is dQ. So we'll start our calculation in the same fashion what we have done in our previous case. So the equation says pick a dQ of charge. To do it, you have to pick up a small dQ which pertains to small segment of the rod. So we call it as infinitesimal small amount of space in the rod. Let me pick dQ. So this is the dQ I am picking up. Again, I am not picking up at the exact center or towards the end. I am picking up at a random place in the rod. So because of dQ is positive, its contribution to the electric field points away from the rod. So in the last case, if you remember, the charge is negative, and that's why direction of dE was towards the charge. In this case, charge is positive, as you can see. dQ is positive. That's why direction of the electric field will point away from the rod. So let us draw it. This is the small amount of dE due to dQ, a small segment on the rod. This was the second part. Now I can work this problem at once for all the components, but it's always safer to work component by component. So one by one, I will solve it out and I will tell you what will be the exact amount of electric field on that particular point because of this. So electric field at point P has no Y component, as you can see. As you can see, there will be no Y component because electric field in this direction. We will have only X component. I hope because of geometry you can realize it. We will have only X component. Y component will be 0 over here. So now we can straight away do it. So the infinitesimal charge dQ is the distance x away from the origin. So as you can see, this is the distance x I mentioned. So this small amount of charge is at a distance x from the origin. Okay. Therefore, I can write it as dx component will be minus k dq upon x square. This negative sign is very important because it is showing, instead of absolute sign, I am giving it negative sign because direction is away from it. Am I correct for this? I don't know the sign of dq, the absolute value sign, but don't know the direction of so see it. We don't have an idea about dq right now. So what we will do, we'll keep negative sign and we will have absolute value. Absolute value will give you the final value. So the sign can be negative. Some books refer it to be the positive also. You can go away with the calculations. But when you do the actual mathematical calculation, you keep the sign accordingly, according to the problem defined. So we have this. I hope this calculation we have done at the last derivation too. So small amount of electric field dEx can be written as minus k lambda into dx equals to dq, and this is minus k lambda by x square dx. So we got the x component of electric field at the point straight away, what we have done in our previous case. Right. Now the only thing remaining is we need to find out what will be the overall electric field at this point. So simply we have x component, small amount of electric field. I will integrate it from d to d plus l. This is the overall size of the rod. So d to l, I will just do the integration. Minus k lambda are constant. We can do the integration. We can apply the limits, and on application of the limit, you can see what are the possible values we have got. So we have got x component as k lambda l upon d plus l. So this is the amount of electric field generated at a point P, which is located over here. So you have seen two derivations. If you want to further look in the integral part and various small concepts, please refer to some standard book. But these are the very crucial steps what I have shown one by one, and we are able to find out electric field with respect to this. So now the question arises, you have seen two electric fields. So you can write it in any form. You can write in this form also, x component, y component, or this hat form, or you can write in the form of direction. Since it is in negative direction, you can simply write it is in negative x direction, right? And you can write in terms of x component and y component. You can write in terms of hat also, I hat, because it is having only x component. So there are 2 points or 2 things we have done so far. Electric field because of a rod. The rod is same in both the cases. Only points have changed. One point what we have considered in our last derivation was the point which is perpendicular to this. And in this case, we have considered a point which is in this axis, and charge we have changed. In case of this, we have positive charge. In case of that, we have negative charge. So what difference do you feel in terms of field generated at different points by rod? Now this question goes to our audience. If you have got my points about the 2 derivations, then let us try to discuss what is the difference in terms of electric field generated at these 2 points. So can anyone throw some light on this if you have got the concepts? So I'm trying to realize my screen is visible. So my screen is visible to everyone?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes,
Right,
sir.
right.
Now.
So now I have done 2 derivations, and we were able to find out electric field at 2 points, right? One point was at a bisector, that is what is perpendicular. Another is in horizontal. What difference we feel in terms of electric field generated by that rod at 2 points? So this is very important to discuss because we must know what is the difference when we decide the position of a point in terms of electric field felt by that. Two cases. So someone would like to say about this? Well, see, I have an interesting theory behind this, right? If we keep the point at the bisector, then that particular electric field will have only y component, right? And if I keep at the horizontal axis, it will have only x component. That is very important. So electric field will be pushing away from the rod in a perpendicular direction. That is what my observation is. As you can see, in case of electric fields, over here, the electric field will be in perpendicular direction. It will have only x component. And in the previous case, I will show you the previous case also. You can see this electric field, because of this point, will be towards that particular direction. Right? But in that case, it was negative. So attraction was there in y direction. In that case, in this case, it will be repulsive, or it will be away from the positive charge. That is what my observation is. And it is very important when we solve the concepts of electric field in terms of various components at different points. So any questions related to this, because this is very interesting, and this forms the fundamental building block of electrostatics and how we can find out electric field and all. Right? So any questions for this? No questions? Shall I go ahead? No questions? I actually take such type of classes in classroom, people have so many questions, right? But I don't think in online session people have much questions. If you have any questions, please do go ahead. Otherwise, I will go ahead with some other calculations and some other points in terms of electric and non-electric fields in this case. Okay, I feel that everything is crystal clear and there are no questions for this. So we'll move ahead with this understanding that you have got the concept of generation of electric field because of a continuous line source which is finite in nature, whose length is L. So now let us try to calculate electric field due to an infinite line of positive charge. So there are two approaches you can do through the mathematical calculations, but one approach is that of the previous example that I was saying. You can do the limits. So we can write electric field. I won't do the derivation because limits will only change. But electric field due to an infinite line of positive charge will be equivalent to 2k upon r lambda. The lambda is charge density, or we call it a linear charge density over that particular line. K has the same meaning, which is I have already explained in so many examples. It is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. R is the distance of the point from that particular infinite rod. So I won't do this derivation for this because it's very simple. You simply have to keep the limit. Okay. Now, very interesting thing is, do we actually have the possibility of having infinite line of positive charge, or you call it as negative charge? Do we really have such type of situation? Or do we have such type of situation in the real world? What do you all think? Can we have an infinite line of positive charge in real world? No answers? But as per my understanding, we don't have an infinite line. So every time we use this equation as an ideal equation when we consider infinite line as an hypothetical concept, but in actual world there will be certain line which have a particular limit. That limit can be in terms of larger limit or a larger size, but actually it will have some sort of finite length in actual world, which will generate some sort of electric field at a point. So this equation is very ideal in nature, and we can use this equation, but this is not your official starting equation. Please remember, this is not your official starting equation because this is an ideal concept, and ideal concepts are used for ideal calculations. But when we actually have to deal with a problem in the real world, then we have to do these calculations what we have done in terms of finite length of the line. So I hope we have seen three cases. First case, where we have found out electric field due to a rod, a finite rod at a perpendicular bisector. Second thing is we found out electric field at a horizontal line of the rod which have a length L. And third, we have found out electric field due to an infinite line of positive charge at a distance P, or you call it as at a point P, which is located at a distance R from that particular infinite line. So these three concepts are very important. Please try to understand these concepts. These concepts are fundamentally used when you solve the equations pertaining to electric field because of charges. You already know how to calculate electric field because of point charges. Now we have used that idea of point charges, or we call it as we have quantized or discretized those objects into small segments and use the concept of those point charges to find out the entire amount of electric field generated by that fine line which has a continuous charge. If you remember, I have given you one concept where I say that electron is the fundamental charge which is discretized over the entire geometry. So the same concept is applicable over here. The entire geometry discretizing into small segments, and small segments will have small amount of electric field generated. At the end, we integrated to the entire geometry, and that entire geometry gave you the electric field, which is summation of electric field generated by those small points. So I hope this theory is very clear. If any questions are there, then please pop up. Otherwise, I will move ahead with the next segment. So I'm very sure no questions for this. Let's move ahead. Right. So now the second concept arises that instead of having a straight line, if I have a very thin ring, so which has a radius and which has a charge per unit length and a total positive charge, we have to calculate the electric field generated by that ring along the x-axis and at a distance x naught from its center. So the distance is x naught, right? What I am going to do is I will discretize this geometry into small segments, as I have said how to start the derivation or start the calculation. So I have this point P over here. I have a ring. I have defined our x-axis over here. So directly you can say y will be here and z will be coming out, okay, from your screen. So we have to calculate electric field at this particular point, which is located in this particular fashion. So this is the geometry which we are going to deal with. Please remember, this is a ring and it has different concepts. So let us start with this calculation. I will try to analyze this problem and I will try to find out what will be the actual amount of electric field generated because of this ring at this point. Okay, so I can give you the edge view. If I see the side view of this particular question, then the ring will look you like this in y direction, and in x direction you can look over here, and z will be pointing towards the out of your screen. As you can see, we have three axes, x, y, and z. Now since we have a ring, the electric field can have all three components. It can have x component, it can have y component, and it can have z component. So three components are possible, which we have to analyze in terms of electric. So whatever electric field we will have at the point P, which is located over x-axis, we will have all three components x, y, and z in that. So let us see how to calculate and how to find out those. It is very important to calculate because this concept will be extended when we find out electric field due to a particular plane. Thickness of this ring is assumed as negligible as usual. Right. I will be using the perspective view of the ring in the solution. Perspective view because it will be very clear to you all. Otherwise, I can use this edge view also. But edge view will not show you the ring. So sometimes it becomes difficult to visualize the ring. So instead of using this, actually in planar structure, we should always use this particular diagram. But since many students find it difficulty to understand it, I will be using perspective view, which is in this particular form. So this will always show you that I'm talking about a ring. Okay. So now again I have a ring which has a radius A. I have a point P which is located at a distance x naught from the origin, or you call it as from the center point of the ring, and we are about to calculate electric field at this particular point because of the charge which is along a continuous charge which is along the ring. So let's start with this. I hope you know how we have done in previous cases. The same thing I will be doing over here step by step, of course, so that it becomes very clear to everyone. Right. So first of all, I will add axes. What are the possible axes? So I have y-axis. I already said there will be z-axis, which is pointing out from your screen. So I won't denote over here. So our starting equation, as I have already explained, this is our starting equation for finding out small amount of electric field because of those small amount of charge on that particular geometry. So dE is the small amount of electric field, dQ is small amount of charge across the geometry. So let us start with picking up dQ of charge. Let's put it on the y-axis for now. So I'm just putting it on the y-axis, as you can see. So we are talking about this small charge right now, which is in y-axis, and this small amount of charge will produce a small amount of electric field that will be dE at point P. So I will show you. Now show the dE due to the positive dQ. That is our second step, as I was talking about step by step. So let us see. This is dE. So dQ I have denoted over here. Just for ease of calculation, you can denote at any point whatever you like, but for ease of calculations I have done it. So dQ is a small segment in this particular ring. P is the point where we need to find out electric field. dE is the small amount of electric field which will be due to this dQ, and the direction of this electric field will be opposite because this is positive charge, as I have mentioned in the example. So this is positively charged, that's why direction is over here. If it is negative, then this will be towards dQ. That is what we have seen in our first example. Right. Now we will need R and theta. So I have also denoted R and theta. So this is the theta, the angle made by DE with respect to R, x-axis, and R is the distance of P from this small d. Because these things will be needed in terms of calculation. So this is our final geometry. Now we are going to evaluate what will be electric field at this particular point. So let us start with this. So we can show the x and y component of DE. There may be Z component also, which we will leave out because it is difficult to draw and visualize. But actually, all Z component will vanish. What I have already know, and I will try to explain this also. So Z component will mostly vanish. Even Y component will also vanish. I will try to show those Y components also. But right now, let us draw what are the X and Y components of this particular DE. So I can straight away write, I will have X component and I will have Y component. You can see the directions. X component is towards X and Y components will be in the negative of Y. These are the X and Y component of DE because of small amount of DQ. Right. Now let us consider another DQ dash on the ring where it is intersected by the negative y-axis. So I have considered DQ at the positive x-axis. Now if I extend this axis, then at this point I can have DQ dash, which will be exactly similar to this, but in opposite direction of this. And because of this small DQ, there will be again DE dash or some amount of electric field at P. So let me define this also. So because of this DQ dash, I have small amount of electric field, that is DE dash, and it is pointed over here. Now let me show the components of DQ dash. It will also have X component and Y component. Now the answer to my question that Y component will vanish should be very clear, because if I take summation of this, then this Y component is in positive and this Y component is in negative. The overall effect of Y component will be 0. And that's why I was saying that Y component of electric field will vanish. So all points on the ring are the same distance r from the point, and also x0 and theta are same for all points on the ring. As you can see from the geometry, that all points from the ring are at the same distance. So this r will be same across the geometry because this is at the center point, and theta will also be same for all points on the ring. Now, the y component will cancel pairwise. If I take pairwise pair across this geometry, and pairwise all Y component will vanish, and even though I am not showing Z component, but pairwise, if you see the discretization, and you can do sometimes by yourself, you will find out that Z component will also vanish in this case. So there will be no Y component, there will be no Z component. We will have only X component for this case. So I hope now the calculations will be much simpler. because you know only one component is possible over here, that is x component. So back to our official starting equation. So you have dE equals to k dq upon r square. So I can write the x component will be dE cos theta, y component and z component will be 0. So I can straight away write it as from dE cos theta, and from the geometry you can see this is a right triangle, and right triangle R is this hypotenuse, and this is your perpendicular, this is your base. I can write it as R equals to x naught square plus a square, or root of x naught square plus a square, and cos theta will be equivalent to x naught upon R, as you can see from the geometry. So we have discretized the geometry. Now we know the small segment, we know the component required, so I can straight away find out what will be the entire component Ex of this particular ring. What I will do, I can integrate this component across the geometry, across the ring. So we have dEx, and dEx is nothing but k dq upon r square. X naught upon r comes from cos theta. So you can write k x naught is a constant for a given point. R will also be constant, and x naught will be also constant. I have taken this out. So k x naught upon r square. Now across the ring, so dq across the ring. So what will be the integration across the ring? It is very simple. Across the ring, charge is uniform, so the charge will be q. So I can write it as q. Then I can write r as x naught square plus a square, and I can keep this value. And finally, I get Ex, the actual amount of electric field, as this particular value, k x naught mod of q plus a square to the power 3 by 2. Okay. So this is how you have done the derivation of a ring. Any questions with this? I expect many questions for these type of calculations. Across the ring, we have found out the charge. We have found out the electric field at a point P, which is located at a far distance from the ring. And there is an absolute sign because sometimes Q may be positive and it may be negative. In this case, Q is positive, so no need to worry about the value of Q. So I can draw dx and dy in the diagram. The sign of Q determines the direction of the component. In this case, Q is positive. If Q was negative, then direction will be different. So because I use the sign of Q to determine the direction of the components in the diagram, I don't want to accidentally use the sign again later and get the wrong direction in my final answer. Hence the absolute value sign is used for safety. So I recommend you, whenever you do the calculations, to always use this particular absolute sign, absolute thing, so that you don't mug up with your answers. Sometimes you get mixed up with your answer in terms of negative and positive charges. So this is what we have done. So this is the final value of electric component or electric field because of the ring, which have a value of k x naught q upon x naught square plus a square root of 3 by 2. So you can also write in different ways, as I already said. You can write in this particular way, and you can write when it is away from the center, or you can write in terms of components. So I can write I hat, which indicates x component. Y and z components are already 0 for this case. If Q were negative and if P were on the negative x-axis, then what will happen to this electric field? That is my question to the audience. I don't know how many people are still listening. Okay, 13 people are there. Let me see how many are there.
Yes, sir. Please repeat the question.
So the question is, suppose, just a minute. Okay. So if you recall our calculations, what we have done, we have found out electric field at a point P because of this ring. Instead of this, just a minute, what is happening? Okay. So if this charge Q is negative and the point P is taken in the negative axis, then what will happen to these components? It is very interesting to know.
Component will remain same.
Yes, they will remain
because the bi component will cancel each other. Only the thing is direction will change. But if we take P at a point on negative direction,
correct.
Then also the only direction will change.
Yes, correct. And nothing will change because we have changed the polarity of the charge as well as direction. So sign won't change, but indication will change. That's it. That's another thing will change. So anyways, some people are listening at least, right? Right. So that is how you can find out electric field because of a ring, and because of that ring, you can even watch some YouTube videos. I'm sharing the links with my slides so that if you find some time, you can go with some more analysis of this particular thing, because there are so many combinations of this problem. Now, suppose if the point is located at some other particular position, then you know electric field and magnetic field will be different. And in those cases, EY and EZ component may and may not be zero. So you have to always think in a fashion that what is the location of the point, what are the various components you're talking about, and you have to analyze each and every component in detail when we do calculations for electric field. So I hope the concept is very clear of the ring. Now let me introduce our fourth concept, which is instead of a ring, if I have a radius, if I have a disk. So this is also very interesting, and it says that so formulation of the situation I have already shown you. It says a disk of radius r has a uniform charge per unit area. Now this is uniform charge per unit area. That is sigma. We have to calculate electric field at a point P along the central axis of the disk at a distance x naught from its center. So now this is the concept which will use the fundamental concept of the ring. I will tell you how to use this. So what I am going to do is I have a disk. This is the disk of radius r, and you know this is charge for this is sigma, that is uniform charge per unit length, and we are about to calculate what will be the amount of electric field at a distance p from the center of this. So please remember that when the formulation is there, we have to analyze the geometry. So I will denote what are the x-axis and y-axis. And it is always important to denote x and y-axis. So let us see how we will try to analyze it. I have x-axis like this. Now if you recall, the disk is made up of concentric strings. If I take small things, and if I discretize them in terms of the radius, then it becomes a disk. I'll show you what I'm saying about. It is very easy to visualize one by one. So imagine taking a ring and cutting
Sir,
it. Yes, please.
In that case, we will find out the electric field by integrating the field what we got in case of ring with respect to radius, changing of radius from 0 to A,
R.
whatever the radius
Right,
are.
correct. That is the idea. Just I'm going to introduce it in some mathematical terms, but the idea is very simple. We have a ring, integrate that ring from 0 to the radius of the disk. Of an infinite case, integrate it from 0 to infinity. That is how you will find out electric field at a point P for the case of a disk. So if I imagine a ring and if I cut it and if I lay it down along a line, then you can say the length of the ring will be 2 pi r and the thickness is dr, so small thickness, let me indicate dr. So the area of a ring at a radius r will be 2 pi r dr. So this is what dr I am pertaining to. This is your dr and 2 pi r is the length. 2 pi r into dr. Dr is this small thickness of this ring. So we have considered the thickness of the area of the ring as 2 pi r dr. So the charge on each ring will be dq, that is small amount of charge. So it will be sigma charge per area into 2 pi r dr. So that is the amount of dq that will be taking place in the ring. So now it is very simple. You have got the charge dq on the ring. So I can keep, we have already the equation of the ring, we have already derived, where kx naught dq ring upon x square plus r square to the power 3 by 2. This is the derivation we have already done when we were dealing with the concept of ring. So now you know what is the concept of ring. You know the area of the ring, which is dq in this case. You can simply keep the value. So this is the d ring, it will be going in this particular direction. And we know the component will be only x component in this case. So I can simply write the value of d ring. So I got ex component of that ring and I simply integrate it with respect to the disk, and that is nothing but from 0 to r, and you can do the calculation. You can finally get value as this particular value. So I won't go in the classic mathematics because it takes much time to integrate, to differentiate, to keep the limits and all. But concept is very simple. I know how to derive or how to get electric field because at a point because of a ring. Now this idea can be extended when we find out the electric field because of the entire disk, by simply integrating it with respect to the concept of ring, that is from 0 to r. So this is what I have done. So I have got electric field at a component at a point P, which is at a distance x naught from this particular disk, and here I have got the final values. It may look nasty, but if you are good at mathematics, I hope you can get all those titles. So I have got electric field at a point P because of this particular disk. So any questions with this? Because I hope the concepts are very clear. They are simple in nature. So what I have done in this case, I have found out, or I have already derived electric field due to the ring, and then I have expressed that electric field in terms of, as you can see, in terms of charge, what was already given, charge per unit area. I have found out the area of that ring, and I have kept dq as this particular value, and simply I have done the calculations, and on calculating I have kept the limit for the disk from 0 to r, 0 remaining the lowest value and r remaining the radius, and I have got the value of electric field of the disk on integrating. So this was simple mathematics. I hope if someone is good at mathematics, they can simply find out what is the electric field at a point because of this particular disk. So I hope this is very clear, and for further details, I don't think any further details are required because I tried to cover all the details. But still, if you need some further details, then you can go to some classic books on electromagnetics where entire derivation is given. But I hope I have covered all the steps. So this will be more than enough for everyone to understand the concept of electric field at a point due to this. So this was our third concept, fourth concept fundamentally. Now let us go to uh, different ways of writing. So as I always recommend, you can write in different fashion. So this is one way of writing. You can write we have only Ex component, Ey and Ez component will be 0. Or you can write in terms of vector, the I naught, I will indicate the direction of the field. So this is what you can always write. I don't think there's much explanation in that, but still you can write it in this particular fashion too. Now let us see, an interesting question arises. If I have a sheet which is infinite in nature, what will be the electric field exerted at a point x naught because of this infinite electric or infinite plane sheet of the uniform charge density Q? I hope everyone must know this answer. So those who are listening, if you are able to see my question or my example, can someone comment on this? We need to calculate electric field at a distance x naught from an infinite plane sheet with a uniform charge density sigma. So I want at least someone can comment on this and tell me what should we do for such type of problems. Huh? No comments? So I hope if you have understood the concept of dish, ring, a line, a rod, then you can just comment on this. I hope it's very simple to comment now. Because very less people are still there, so fine. So no comments. But it's very simple. Yeah. See, we have a dish. Instead of integrating it from 0 to r, if I integrate it from 0 to infinity, it becomes infinite in nature. That's all we have to do. Instead of integrating the dish, what we were discussing, from 0 to r, if I integrate it from 0 to infinity, then fine, it becomes an infinite plane sheet. That's it. And it hardly matters whether it's a circular dish or a rectangular dish because it will be infinite in nature. Okay. So I will just give you the calculations. So if I have an infinite dish, the same concept can be used, and E of that sheet will be equivalent to R, which tends to infinity, and you can do the calculations. I have already shown you the final answer. E sheet is equivalent to absolute sigma. It can be positive and negative upon 2 epsilon naught. This is very interesting. I literally want someone to just comment on this equation because in this equation, one thing important is missing. No comments. It feels very boring when people don't comment and they don't say something. But anyways, if we are towards the end, I will just take 1 or 2 minutes more. So anyways, today you don't comment, then I want you to comment tomorrow. I will start with the same equation tomorrow, and let's see what could be the possible comments on that. So electric field at a point, at some point x naught, will be defined or will be found out in terms of charge density of that particular sheet and 2 epsilon naught or epsilon naught, which is permittivity of the medium. So please think about it. Tomorrow we will start with the same equation, and I will like to devote some 5 to 10 minutes on this because this is very, very important to understand that what happens when the sheet is infinite in nature. And what could be this relate to the possible concept of electric field generated in the entire universe? So I hope you were listening and I am not getting answers, but still, that's fine. I will start with this equation tomorrow. If you have any questions related to this, please go ahead. Otherwise, I'm signing off for today. Tomorrow we'll meet at the same time at 11 and we can start our discussion on electric field generated by infinite sheet. So no questions, I hope. Well then, that's all from my side for today then. I believe if you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask. But if you don't have questions, that's well and good.